All right. Welcome back, everyone, to the Play to Rise podcast. I'm Ava Ora, and we are here with Shylo Don for part 4 of the Gaia Speaks series. We have been channeling and opening Gaia's Akashic records and really asking questions around New Earth. And if you haven't checked out the first 3 episodes, I encourage you to go back and listen through to all those. They are standalone episodes, and it is a series. So make sure you catch all 3 of those episodes. We are here today to dive into part 4. We have more questions from all of you, from our viewers, around New Earth and what is happening, what is going on, what can we really expect in this journey, and a lot of these questions that you might have around technology, families, just what it actually looks like, how are we relating, what's money like, what's government like. We've answered a lot of these questions. So if you have curiosities and this is your first time tuning in, make sure you go back and check those out as well. We've got a lot of juicy questions for you here as well today. So I'm going to go ahead and introduce Shylo Don. We also bring in Diana of the Pleiadian family on every episode. And today we're going to be bringing her in a little bit sooner so that we can really have a really fascinating discussion between the Pleiadians and Gaia, really. So I'll be channeling the Pleiadians and Shylo will be channeling Gaia. And it's really a pretty fascinating discussion. So welcome, Shylo.
Thank you so much for that introduction. And yeah, we're so excited to be here with all of you. And we're going to be channeling the Akashic records of Gaia, as Ava was just sharing. And so just in case you're new here, you haven't caught the previous episodes, like Ava said, if this is your first one, it is standalone, but please check out the other 3. But if you're new to this channel, you're new to the Akashic records, the Akashic, and you're wondering, like, what are the Akashic records? It sounds so fascinating. They're a library of infinite knowledge, wisdom, information, memory, really. It's really, if you think of like a physical library, right? It holds all of the information of your soul's journey. So every incarnation that you've had here on the earth is imprinted into what is known as your own personal Akashic record space. And so this can be really helpful and beneficial along your journey, especially if you're walking through your spiritual path, to tap into the Akashic records and not only go on a soul discovery, but it can give you deep insights into what's to come, like what are the next steps or most aligned steps to take, or if you have patterns or conscious loops or something that continues in your life, whether it be relationships or business and money or whatever it may be, right? It's really, again, this infinite space. You have the ability to go in and go, okay, well, where was the root of this that started? Sometimes it's in childhood. A lot of times you've been carrying things for lifetimes. So you're able to go back and take a look. And of course, anyone has access to their own Akashic records, and we can access the Akashic records of others. But there is a process, and I really invite you into, if you are curious about it, making sure that you find a guide, because you want to make sure that you're going through the steps properly and that there is safety involved, because we are tapping into the multidimensional field. And so there is also, everyone has access, and there's also some steps to make sure that you're taking in that. And the most important piece that I'll speak into with the Akashic records is permission. So we have, of course, with ourselves, if we're desiring to open our own Akashic records, then of course we're going to be giving ourselves permission, but we don't have permission to access anyone else's records unless they give us permission, of course. And so just know that as I'm here channeling for Gaia, I do have her Akashic records open. I have her permission. And before we hopped on this call, I took a moment and connected with her and opened her Akashic records. And I ask for permission every time. And because maybe some days it's a yes, and maybe some days it's a no, it all really depends on the energetics of where everything is, and maybe how clean my channel is, making sure that I'm grounded enough to hold her frequency and energy, because it is so big and so vast. Of course, she is our great mother. And so, yeah, so I already have her Akashic records open. So we're going to start to dive in to the questions as soon as we have Diana here in the space. And yeah, and just know that I've been working with Gaia for quite some time. I mean, lifetimes really. But this is, this is a set contract that we've had with each other that was really set long ago, so that I could be here to share this information with all of you. And yeah, and she just, she wants to remind all of you that everybody has it. It's such a deep connection with her, right? And so the invitation is connect with her more as well. But I'm going to pass it over to Ava as she's going to introduce Diana. We'll bring her in and then we'll dive into the channelings.
Thank you so much, Shylo. And just wanted to give you a little plug because you're so freaking humble over there. She's literally in the middle of her window open for Akashic Academy, which she runs a couple times a year. And it's a training program for people to actually learn how to actually be an Akashic record practitioner. So if you are curious about the Akashic records, we'll put the link down in the show notes so you can go check that out. It's okay to tell people what you do.
True, yeah.
So make sure you go check that out if you are curious about that and would like to become a Akashic record practitioner yourself. That is available. So for those who are new, welcome here. We are really excited to have you here for this episode. I am a trance channel, which means that I take a step back out of my body and allow Diana of the Pleiadian family, who's my main guide, to come through and speak on behalf of, the Pleiadians. And I also have a contract and agreement with Mary Magdalene, Mother Mary, and a whole collective known as the Living Ma. And so they are here as well. They're ascended masters that have mastered in their multidimensionality, who are here to bring back the remembrance of the original human blueprint back into creation during this time as we're going through this transition into New Earth. So it's an exciting time to be alive. It's an exciting time to be channeling these higher frequencies. I know there's a lot of humans that are really being activated in their channeling gifts right now, and it's really exciting to watch. It's really exciting to be a part of this this kind of wave of information coming back into our collective consciousness at this time. So without any further ado, you're going to see Diana. She's a hilarious, wise old grandmother Pleiadian who cracks jokes, drinks. She calls it sipping the earth. So if you have a little bit of water or tea with you, she'll probably want to drink with you as well and connect to your heart. So without any further ado, we'll go ahead and bring in the Pleiadians. I'll connect you in with Diana, the Pleiadian family. Here we go. Greetings. This is Diana of the Pleiadian family. You see, we are here. You see, we like to say to bring the love. You see, we love to drink the earth together. So we'll do that first, you see, to say thank you from the Ava as well as saying hello to all of you. We like to be in circuitry with you. So we are drinking of the waters, you see, the multidimensionality of the healing waters together, you see. So we are really making that connection point together. So we have together to see where we are on the heartbeat of Mother Earth, you see, and to taste her sweetness, you see, and to really be in the frequency of that alive, living breath, you see. So let's see where we are. Oh, we have the rose. Oh, we have the rose today. Oh, this is so sweet. Oh, almost want to bring in the Magdalene just so she can have a sip, you see. We will not, you see, but this good, you see. This is good. Well, welcome, my dear Shylo. It is good to see you, and welcome to the dear Gaia as well. You see, she's here with us as well, you see. So we are excited to have a fascinating conversation here today.
Yes, welcome, Diana. Thank you so much. I always just love to start off with just giving gratitude for Diana being here and the entire Living Ma collective. Just feeling really blessed to get to be here in this space and to get to share all of this with anyone who feels called to this, who's listening. There's so much that I want to share, and I feel like there's a lot that's going to come through in this episode. We have some really incredible questions that have come in from some of the viewers, and also I had a really powerful experience when I first opened up Gaia's records. So she showed me a few different things. I always have visions when I first open the records, which just feels like it's going to set the stage for the session itself or for the channeling itself. And she was showing me that this fourth channeling session really gets to be, or what she was showing me is it's opening up this cosmic gate. And this cosmic gate is bringing in more curiosity for the expansion of consciousness. And it's the curiosity itself that is actually assisting in the expansion of consciousness. And so Of course, everything that is shared here, that is channeled here, if it resonates, amazing. If it doesn't resonate, at least it's here to spark your curiosity, which is really what she was showing me is helping in the expansion of consciousness. And so it's okay if it doesn't all land, or if we have different opinions or beliefs and things that are coming through. It's actually all here to serve the greater plan, and it's all here to assist in the breath, assist in the expansion of the consciousness itself. And so she just showed me this beautiful vision, and I'm maybe going to save the other vision for the first question, or maybe we can just dive into the first question because it's really deeply connected into that. But maybe I'll just see, Diana, if there's anything that you want to share before we get into the questions.
Well, that was exactly going to be our suggestion, you see, was to just go into that question, because that's exactly where Gaia started. She always tells you where to start, you see.
Yes.
So we just start with this question. This was a good one.
Beautiful. Well, and it was the first question that was written down, right? And so it's like all it's the design of it is also perfect as well. And so the first question is oh wait, let me just take a look here, because it's actually not part of the first question.
Well, it is in the way, you see, the whole thing,
Okay.
you see.
Oh, yes. Okay. I see. Yeah. So the first question is the new earth a physical place or a state of consciousness? You're right. It is part of the first question. So is the new earth a physical place or a state of consciousness? And then underneath, this is something that I channeled through before we started around that question, because this is actually something that I have been pondering for so long, because this is a question that I've had many people ask me. And every time I tune into it, it's like, it feels like it's none of it and all of it. And it's actually so much more vast than what we can even imagine it being. Like, it's not so boxed in or black or white. But what I said was, is it a flat earth? Is it a physical earth? Is it a toroidal field? Is it a firmament? Is it just a holographic universe that is being created through, every movement of our eyes through the observer effect, which is, quantum physics is starting to really tune into and understand. And what is really happening here? And so I'll just share the vision that she shared with me. Because I'm very, my gift of channeling is, one of my main gifts is clairvoyance. And so I have these really vivid visions. And so as I was down at the center of Earth and I was asking her for permission and I was opening her records, I was sitting with her crystalline center, this crystalline sphere, and I could feel just the power of her presence while I was down there. And right where the crystalline sphere was, it was almost like she showed me this book, and it was like this flat book, as if you would open up a book and put it on a table. And if you think of, this is what she's channeling through to me right now. So she's saying, if you think of, right, a book, a physical book, and you open it up to the pages and you lie that down, through the physical eyes, it could be perceived as flat. But inside that book, if you're, say, reading, I mean, what she's saying right now is like, say, like one of the first Harry Potter books. There is in it, when you just look at it and perceive it with your eyes, maybe it looks flat. But inside that book is not only a story, but there's a whole other dimension of a cosmic world known as, right, Hogwarts, in this book that's physically written with words. And so when we're reading it, there's a whole other dimension that's being created from that. And so what she was showing me is, when I got closer to it, the book didn't actually have pages at all. It looked like a firmament over top of the book. And it would be perceived from one perspective, that it was flat. And as I got closer and really took a look, not with my physical eyes, but with my third eye, my higher consciousness, and took a look at it, it didn't just stop at the flat part. It actually not even domed down. When I looked in, it didn't stop at the edges of the pages or the edges of the book. When I looked into it, it was infinite. And I saw all of the cosmos, all of these worlds, all of these dimensions that were moving and swirling in the spiral of life in this cosmic sacred geometric field. Inside of this book, there was an entire, not only world, but an entire universe that was breathing and moving and expanding and contracting inside of what would look like a physical book. I also saw it as the toroidal field, but I also saw a firmament. And so what she was showing me is that it's all of it. Like, it was the physical book that was perceived through my human physicality through one perspective is flat. And when I got a little closer, I realized it wasn't flat at all. It was actually infinite because nothing is linear. And so as I looked in, it wasn't actually flat at all. It was not even a globe or even a full, like, there was a toroidal field, but it was more, if you think of like, it was almost like the field of it, like if you think of like the electromagnetic field, right? Like our torus field is like housing the physicality of our body, but our soul expands through all time and space, right? And so even just believing in the physicality of it would keep us very still dense here. But understanding the multidimensionality of it, it's actually all of those things in one. And what she also expressed to me is it's also so much more, that our consciousness is only perceiving so many perspectives right now. But there are an infinite amount of perspectives as well. And as we continue, so it's also why even being in the argument of, is the earth flat? Is it physical? Is it, is it a planet? Is it a toroidal field? What is it? The curiosity of all of that through all of these different perspectives is what is helping actually expand it. It's not so much of I'm right, you're wrong, or who's right, who's wrong, because it's actually all of it. And the curiosity is what is expanding us further. And so she's saying that's why it can be really powerful to be in these conversations in a safe way where we can be open to other perspectives, because it helps us not only expand our own consciousness, but also the entire collective consciousness as a whole, which is what's assisting New Earth frequency to generate maybe a little quicker, right? It's like not so dense. We're expanding out of the density. And so that's a little bit about what she was showing me with that. And I'm so curious, Diana, maybe what you have to share around that.
Well, to be honest, we do not have a whole lot to add to it, you see, because so well said, you see, so well said, such a beautiful vision that you were able to really communicate here. So this is very, very beautiful, you see. And what this is doing, you see, because it is infinite perspective, because there is infinite experience and infinite fractalization in a certain way, you see. So the way that you are able to perceive all these different things is really just simply the angularity from this particular moment in time, you see. Go to a different angularity, different time and space, different angle, different perspective, you see. Different quote unquote truth, you see. But we get careful not to pin it down, you see. This is the point, you see. You can never land on a truth, you see, because then you are really limiting. As she was saying, you see, you limit yourself into that particular box of that truth, you see, when it is really much more than that, you see. So it's okay to hold in perspective, you see, for a moment, you see, and to really be willing to really hold in all of it, you see, because what that does then is all of a sudden now, it is attuning us to the oneness, you see. It is attuning us to the greater whole, the greater truth of it all, you see. We're going to use that word, ha-ha, you see, truth of it all, you see. Because the only real truth is in the one, you see. You see, so when you cut it all up into everything, you see, there is infinite truth, you see, because it all is, you see. So it is all important, you see. So from that perspective, it is all truth because it exists, you see. So that is important perspective, you see. So when you are able to hold that there is your truth over here and their truth over there, and they seem quite opposite, you see. So how can they both be accurate, you see? We can hold and expand our consciousness, you see, to hold for the possibility, even if it does not make sense in the mind, how these two can both be true at the same time. If we can even just hold in the curiosity of how could that be possible, without it coming to the next logical conclusion that it can't, holding in the how, rather, you see, what that does then is now all of a sudden we are connecting into these two realities of different opinions, different perspectives, different angularities on a similar thing, you see. One believes this, one believes that. How can they both be true, you see? Can't all be right, can we, you see? Yes, we can, you see. And so this is really the joy of it all too, is when we are able to broaden out into the different perspectives. Now all of a sudden, we are holding in a larger circuitry, you see, a larger circuitry of who and what this all is, you see. And so it is really allowing you to hold more of yourself, you see, more of who you truly are, you see, because you are really infinite in your are-ness, in your wholeness, you see. And it includes all of these different things, you see. So it is important that we're able to hold in all of these apparent differences, because it is you see. So if you don't like it, well, then got to get right with it, you see, because it's simply part of yourself, you see. So it's important to get right with it all, you see, and to get right with all the different worlds within the worlds, you see, and to understand that this is yourself, this is you see.
Beautiful. So well said. And I just feel like that brings so much more freedom to all aspects of life, to even bring in the feeling of safety, where it gets to be safe to share our perspective and our quote unquote truth. And that if we can come into a place of being the observer of even the information that's being shared and being in the curiosity instead of the ego coming forward and needing to be right, understanding that that is really bringing in so much limitation. And I've seen that so often, right? And we can look at that in more of the density through, even like political containers or that sort of thing, right? It's like the left and right, but I've also seen it in the spiritual community, right? I've seen it in different aspects of I'm right, you're wrong, and really this spiritual ego coming forward. And can we really allow that to maybe just be on the sidelines? I always like to say that I'm inviting in my ego, even when I open the Akashic records, it's my ego is here, but as a curious student. My ego is never in the driver's seat. It's sitting on the sidelines, but I'm not shunning the ego out either. It's a curious student, to allow your ego to see that it's okay to be in curiosity. It's okay to be a student. It's okay to still be learning and growing. And I just really feel like the curiosity brings a lot of freedom with that.
Precisely, you see. And perhaps for the curiosity, for the curious minds, we can actually answer the question, you see. So the actual question here is it a physical place or is it a consciousness, you see? And so we can hear from Gaia, because we really just gave the answer, you see. We kind of gave the Cliff Note version here, you see, that it is all of it, you see. But perhaps she has a specificity in the answer, you see. We will say it is both, you see, but perhaps she has a clarity in it.
Okay, let me tune in to what she wants to share around that. I mean, I'm not really getting anything too much else coming forward with that around the actual clarity of it. It's just what she's sharing with me is it's both. And yeah, I'm not sure how to clarify that any further.
It's not needing to be clarified more, other than to just state it in the obvious way. You see that it is both. For those of you who missed it, you see, in the saying of all of these truths and all of these perspectives and holding for all these perspectives, you see that the actual answer to the question is it is both physical and consciousness, a place of consciousness and a place of physicality in this new earth experience. You see, So just naming it for people that maybe just need that a little bit more, because who would think that the Pleiadian would be grounding it for the container here? Sometimes you see it gets to be fancy like that. You see, so this is fun. You see, this is fun. You see, but we have more questions too. You see.
We do, yeah. The next question is, how will we know when we fully arrived in New Earth? And I was kind of asking that question in the background a few moments ago, and she was showing me this vision of, first of all, what she was sharing was, we'll know, and how we'll know is that there's going to be a tremendous amount of peace that comes over us. And she was showing me that when consciousness gets to a certain level and there's this shift, almost like this internal, right, like the plugging in of the DNA, the shifting of the actual chemical compounds within our being, within our body. And I'm just seeing, like, as all of that plugs in, this metamorphosis type experience happening, very similar to, I'm not even going to say the butterfly, because what she was showing me earlier was we're consistently going through the metamorphosis of the butterfly. This is the consistent death and rebirth that we've been going through. We've been going through these many different metamorphoses. But the actual, more along the lines of like the ascension process, is more of like the dragonfly. It's more of the mutation, the actual mutation of the DNA, going even from this water creature onto land, into the air. It's really the most diverse, like expansive. We're in the depths of the density into this higher consciousness plane, which is really, and we've talked about this so many times, the original blueprint of the human. And so we're not, right? New Earth isn't a place that we're leaving this Earth and going to a new one, right? It's really, like she keeps saying, it's like New Earth, Old Earth kind of thing, right? This paradigm of, it's really an ancient remembrance of how we're, the true encoding within us is coming online, and her original blueprint, really. And so we're both coming back into the original blueprint. And so the how we're going to know is there's a transcendence that's taking place internally, like an alchemical kind of alchemization process and transmutation process of all of this density. And the feeling that's going to be coming over us is, what she's sharing with me and what she's showing me is, like, she's being very metaphorical right now, showing me, again, like the metamorphosis of the dragonfly and even the butterfly. And she's even showing me, like, the earth is like in this cocoon right now. The earth is continuously going through this metamorphosis. And eventually it's also going to go through the metamorphosis of the dragonfly, which is really interesting, because what she's showing me is it's going to be affecting the water. That water, oh, this is so interesting. I'm trying to like understand, just so you all know, I'm channeling in real time. So she's showing me these visions that my human mind has never seen before. And then I'm needing to translate or comprehend or ask for more guidance through then claircognizance, which is my inner knowing. And so she's showing me that of course, right, the density of the water is going to change. And so it's almost like the water becomes, it's still fluid, but it's more like light than it is the physical. I'm just trying to ask for a little bit more clarity on that. But the reason why she was bringing that forward was, if we think of like a dragonfly as this creature, right? It's known as the nymph before it becomes the dragonfly. It lives underwater, is a water creature. And then at some point in its journey, it just gets this higher calling to leave the water, even though it doesn't breathe outside of the water. It's never been outside of the water. And it's in the water for like 6 to 7 years. It's not like a short, like for a bug, right? That's a long time. And so, it comes out of the water, and then it has its metamorphosis from the sun. The sun is what mutates its DNA. And scientists have always said that that mutation of the DNA has always existed inside the dragonfly, right? Even as a nymph, it had that coding. It was just waiting for the coding to awaken through the light transmutation, basically, which is what's happening to us. And so she's showing that the dragonfly being in the water and then going into not only being a land creature, but being an air creature, basically, that there's something that's going to actually happen to the physicality of the water, which I'm having a hard time fully translating that. All that I can really get from that is it's going to be more fluid like light.
Yes, the thing that we are hearing is it's going to have a higher concentration of silica in it. Does this translate for you? We are not quite sure too much about this particular, but it is does hold more light, you see, and it also appears a little bit. You could say almost like silica is more like thickens a little bit, but it is not like the water is going to be thick, you see. But that the silica containing is able to translate the light in a different way, you see. And it is really that frequency of when you know, you see. So when you are on the land, you're crawling around with your body on the dirt, you see it, and then all of a sudden you go and you take a nap for 8 days, you come out, all of a sudden you are flying. Well, that's a big change, you see. You know, you see. So yes. How are you going to know? You're just going to be flying around, but like, whoa, wow, I don't have to kick up the dirt every time I crawl across the ground anymore. Now we are just flying from flower to flower, you see, and having that different experience of frequency of the higher feelings of peace in your body, you see. So it is going to be so obvious that there won't be a question, you see. It won't be a question, you see, and it will be in the moment in a certain way, you see. We are kind of in the cocooning phase, you see, in this particular way, you see. You could see it like that, shedding off, you see, what we do not need, you see. Kind of like that, you see.
Yes.
Is that what she was saying here? That's what we are hearing was the silica, you see. Was that the right translation? From what you can hear, is that, is she saying anything about that, you see, for the water piece? Because that is we were seeing it in a similar way with the light being very, almost like crystalline, or like the crystalline structure, you see, but the silica is what makes the crystals, you see. It makes the crystalline structure strong, you see. So there's something with the silica.
Yes, no, that makes a lot of sense. That's what I was tuning into, was it's going to be this crystalline structure, but not in the density that we would think it is. So that's why I kept saying like it's fluid, but it's more light. And so that would make sense that it was to do with the silica, because she also kept saying it's like this alchemical transmutation that's taking place. And so, yeah, I just want to tune into if there's anything else with that, but yeah, she's just showing me that the water is going to be much different, and our relationship to it is going to be much different. And the water within us is also going to be in this transmutation, because we're also water. And so that the water, what she's showing me, and this is going to tune into the next question, which is, how does the new earth relate to the concept of ascension, which is basically what we're talking about here. She's showing me that the water within us is also going through this transmutation process. And so it's not just it is the DNA is what's plugging in, right? We have 2 strands of DNA plugged in. For those of you that are new here, right? We've spoke about this many times, but maybe you're just landing on this for the first time. So I want to break this down again. So we have 2 strands of DNA that are plugged in, and we have 12 strands of DNA. But then we have the 13th, which is the center pillar. And the 13th is the connection to source, God, universe, also what connects us down here in Gaia. It's like the central channel, basically. And then the strands of DNA like wrap around it. And so there are 13 altogether, which is the original blueprint of the human. And so as the water on our planet is going through this alchemical process simultaneously, and she's showing me it's not like it happens on the earth first and then within us, or within us and then on the earth. It's a simultaneous process. As it's happening here, it's happening to the earth at the exact same moment. And so as the sun is coming in, and not only our sun, but from the great central sun, it's activating the water. It's bringing it through this alchemical process where, as Diana was just sharing, there's something with the silica that's bringing it into this crystalline process, but it's not a hard, dense crystalline. It's fluid. It's light, like the crystalline structure of light. And that process is also happening within us. And so that's what's assisting us in staying in these physical bodies, but also shedding some of the density that is keeping us really bound to the physical 3D structure. And so it's how we're evolving with our physical bodies. And it's why it's happening, has been happening for quite some time in this gradual process, is our physical bodies need to get to a certain point where we can handle the amount of light to actually shift the internal crystalline structure. And so that's how New Earth is really relating to the concept of ascension, because ascension is happening internally within us. And as that is shifting, it's shifting our outer reality. Our outer reality is that we are on this planet known as Earth, or Great Mother. And so as within, so without, right? As you're shifting internally, plugging in more strands of DNA, pulling in more light into your body, activating your gifts, remembering who you are, embodying your truth and your power, then she is shifting right alongside you. And so we're all coming back home to our original blueprint individually and together, because as we're these individual fractals, we're also connected into the whole. And so that's how this whole process is kind of just like opening up and expanding together.
Yes, very good, my dear. It's very well said, you see. And so what we're talking here is this inner ascension process, you see. The reason why it is so within, so without, all the things all happening at the same time is all like that because it is all the same thing. There is it's there's so much separation, you see. So it's like all happening side by side. It's all the same thing, you see. So just a slight little shift in the perspective to really see how this can all happen in such synchronicity, you see. It is not so so magical or fancy like that, like an orchestra having to play all the instruments at the exact same moment. And if one falls asleep, you see, well, they miss out, you see. No, it's the same thing, you see. It is the same consciousness, you see. So it is the same one consciousness moving through everything, having its own inner awakening, you see. So as these alchemical processes happening within all form, you see, what is happening then is it is changing in the minerality, the density of the structure, which specifically within the silica itself is going to be different in the flow of it all, you see. And what that does then is it is shifting in the crystalline structure within your form, because your form is made of crystalline structure, which is literally an antenna of consciousness, you see. So that is what is awakening your psychic ability. So you're talking about this inner ascension process, you see, awakening this original blueprint, the original 13, you see. Well, that original 13 is activating all of your psychic powers, all of your potentiality as a human, all of your creative powers, all of your power, period, you see, because you're in right relation with all of your portals, all of your ways of creating and being, you see. And so as this is happening, you see, this way that the silica is now moving through your form is really aligning and activating and being in right resonance with all of these different gifts and frequencies and ways of expressing, you see, and ways of creating and ways of moving through of all these things. And this is the inner ascension, you see, as you talk about, you see. This is that process, that alchemical process of moving into this place of remembrance, you see, this remembrance of the wholeness, you see. So it is coming into that frequency of the remembrance. And as we come into this frequency of a remembrance, it appears as though that is happening on an individual level. But again, it is all the same thing, you see. So it is one energetic moving through, you see. And it is really creating it all in this moment, you see. And so this silica is moving through the forms and upgrading and shifting into everything, you see, which is less density, but is also more higher of the ways that we communicate, you see, the transmission capacity heightens, you see. And so everything is heightened in that. So that is everything we've been talking about, the new earth and the superpowers of the human and the psychic abilities and the telecommunications and the way everything, the telepathy and how we talk and how we do language and all these things that we've mentioned in all these other episodes. You see, all of this is possible because of this inner alchemical process that is happening through all of the entire inner of the one, you see, is moving in this way, you see. So it is affecting everything, you see. Is this making sense to you?
Yes, it's making perfect sense. And she's just showing me this really beautiful visual of the micro to the macro and how it's all interwoven together through these sacred geometric formations, which are really the constructs of light that connect all souls, all beings back into one, back into unity. And we're coming back in a unity consciousness, which she's even sharing, like, that's also the power of how even started this, of the curiosity of when we're in curiosity of someone else's perspective, we're maybe releasing some of the separation. The curiosity gets to be the door into more of the unified field of, okay, I'm not so much seeing myself separate from you because you have a different belief and a different opinion. There's no way we could possibly be the same, coming from the same source. We believe something so different. Instead of that being very closed off, the heart with curiosity is actually open to understanding the micro to the macro in this unified field. And that when the heart is open to the curiosity, it allows other people in, no matter what background or belief system or whatever it may be, right? Different religion or whatever it is. The curiosity opens the heart for connection, and that connection is really what's bringing us back into the unified field, where we don't need to all have the same belief or perspective. It's more the opening of the heart, the curiosity, and the connection that's bringing us back home to self and back home to the unified field. And so she was just showing me that piece and that.
That's beautiful.
Yeah. Beautiful. So we'll go on to the next question, which is, do lions and lambs lie together? Do we no longer eat sentient beings? And this question came in from Ava's husband, Yeshua. And when Ava and I were, when I spoke this out loud, Ava was like, that sounds so wild and ridiculous that that's even something that we do here when you say it like that. Like, I just had this vision of actually lying with one of the sentient beings that maybe we would be eating. And the thought of lying or, cuddling up on the couch with or whatever, right? Just as we do with animals that we love. And then the thought of then eating that animal is I just, when that clicked for me, I was like, whoa, that is so interesting. And I will say, for me personally, I've been vegetarian back into a meat eater many, many times throughout my life. And I've been on this kind of spiral with it of does my body need meat? Does it not need meat? Am I really meant to just be on this vegetarian diet? And it's actually been a huge question for me for a long time. And, what she was just showing me with that when I was just asking that question, she was sharing of course not. And, we've, well, of course, we lie together, and of course we do not eat the sentient beings. And what she was showing me in that is, well, first of all, we've talked about this. She's just pointing out, we've talked about this in a previous episode around the actual food itself, of that as we're expanding into this new earth consciousness, what we'll notice is that, or what she's saying is that when we're actually in the new earth consciousness, we're not really going to need food. We can, out of, if there's a desire to be in communion with that frequency or that thing, because that really is what's happening when we, either we're drinking something, Diana talks about this all the time with the earth drink. It's why we start every episode and we open it up with the earth drink because we're actually communing with the earth. We're communing with whatever the frequency of that plant is. If it's a herbal tea or, you know, even like a coffee bean or something, right? It's like it's all coming from the earth, cacao, whatever it is that you're in that circuitry with. And then also when you eat, whatever you're eating, you're taking on that form, right? And so that's why if you're eating, you know, if you're eating a lot of plants that have a lot of light and the plants are still very much alive, when you're eating that, it's taking on the form. And so it's filled with more light. It's really filled with life and energy, and it's giving your physicality and your energetics that light. And then when it comes to like the density of the meat, right? Meat is really connected into what she's showing me is like the structure of death, which is very much the three-dimensional reality that we're in. But as we're transmuting the illusion of death itself, because nothing can actually ever die, right? Energy can only be transformed, right? And so as we're going through this ascension process, we're also shattering the illusion of death, which is why so many of us that are on right our spiritual journey, we have been experiencing death and rebirth, to be shown that death really is this illusion, and also that death is also a very real physical thing here on this planet. And yet there is an illusion to be shattered through that, as just as we shared in the beginning, flat earth, physical earth, toroidal field, firmament, like what's happening here. It's like it's all of it. And there's a more expanded perspective on that. And so the question to that is, yes, because we're in a higher paradigm of more light in that field, and we're in a paradigm of peace and not so much death and destruction, we're not going to be needing to eat sentient beings, and we're not going to have the desire to be eating sentient beings. But if we want to be in a communion with another form, that is also available for us. And so I hope that makes sense. I'm curious, Diana, what you have to say about that.
Yes, so a few things, you see. So when you say that the availability of the other forms, you see, to commune with, you see, there will not be the desire to go and take a bite out of your friend, you see. We'll put it like that, you see, because it is, you are in the telepathy of being in the communion with that. So you'll be sitting next to the cow and having conversation, how you'll be surprised, you see, because it's another soul, you see, just choosing a different form, you see, when you are really having the conversations now in a different way, you see. So it is, and the same is with the plants, you see. So these are all ways that we are simply in the ability to commune, you see, but we do not need to consume to commune, you see. So this is the difference, you see, within that paradigm, you see. And there's a fascinating story. We almost would bring an Ava back for it, you see, but we can tell the story, you see. She has had wild life, you see, before having a married life, you see, with the children and everything, you see. She used to live in a tent, you see, in the woods, you see, for 4 years, you see. She did it by herself, you see. And this was really, really pleasant. She liked it, you see. So obviously for that long, you see. One day she walking to her tent, through the woods, through the forest, you see, all of a sudden she had, this land had cattle, had cows on it. So they were grazing, you see, on some of the open areas, you see. And so they had the cowbells, you see. And she's walking, and all of a sudden she hears the cowbells, you see, going crazy. They're wild, you see, much more wild than usual. She says, I wonder what's going on with the cows today, you see. All of a sudden she gets close to the cows, you see. And there's this place where right in the middle, there's this area where where there was this place where they would do the Native American sweat lodges and spirit dances, you see. So she was in that area, and this was a dance for peace, you see, 4-day dance for peace. That she participated in for many years, you see. But this particular space, very holy space, very sacred space, a ceremonial space, all the cows in the circle. Well, that is fascinating. What are they all doing in this place where we pray for peace every year, you see, in the native way, you see? What are they doing, you see? All of a sudden, she looked a little closer. You know what she sees? Standing about 30 feet from her. She sees in the middle of the cows a mountain lion. A mountain lion. Like, it does not kill you. You see, mountain lion. Now, this is the thing, what we say with the lions laying down with the lambs, literally. Are they going to be laying down, having a friendly time? You see, that the mountain lions will eat these animals, typically, you see. But today they were playing. They were playing. They were having a good time. You see, they were really in the play of it together. You see, they were really, you could tell in the frequency that there was no energy of, oh, I'm going to eat you. There was none of that. It was, let's play together. Let's have a good day, you see. And that was a prophetic moment, you see. And so there are these moments, even in your time now, where the prophecies are there, you see, and the moments of pointing to what is to come are there for us if we are there to receive them, you see. And so this was a moment that Ava got to witness. The lions and the lambs laying together, in this case, the cows, you see, but the same kind of concept, you see, of being in that frequency of peace, being in that frequency of just this higher consciousness, you see, of what is possible when we are all operating from our original design, which is love, you see. Yes, this is good.
Beautiful. That's such a cool story. I love that. It's amazing.
This is a fun one, you see.
So fun.
We do not quite know. I don't believe Ava was too afraid, you see. Maybe at first she's a mountain lion 20 feet away. You see, wow, maybe I should be afraid here. But she very quickly heard could see this, what was happening. They said, oh, they're all just playing. Well, I'll just go right over here to my little tent, let you play. Her tent was not too far away from that little game either. So that was interesting too, you see. But she knew what she was doing.
Absolutely. Yeah, I love that so much. And I would, also say that, that wouldn't ever happen unless Ava was so incredibly protected as well. And it just being this experience of prophecy coming forward. I know from living in Canada, if I ever saw a mountain lion, it was like, oh man, I'm in trouble. They are pretty gnarly animals to come face to face with. So that I feel like it, even being a mountain lion, speaks volumes to the fact that it was with the cows that doesn't happen, right? And so it's like that was something really special.
It's just a little bit of a preview for what is to come. That is what that moment was, a little preview for what is coming for us all, you see.
Beautiful. So beautiful. Amazing. So we're going to go into the next question. And the next question is, will people still experience karma in New Earth? And so again, I kind of asked these questions in the background while we're, while we're tuning into the previous question. And so when I first asked this, what came through, what I was seeing was, what she was saying to me was kind of a yes and no question again, but more rather than no. And what I was being shown was, because our souls are always going to have some sort of, like, we're moving through releasing the karmic ties. It's the whole purpose of this purification process that we're in. And so what I'm seeing, or what she continues to show me, is if we're going through this next cycle of peace, we're going through this next cycle of higher consciousness, because we're in these cycles, right? It's like we're in a cyclical journey. We're going up the spiral. And so as we're in this cycle of peace, that there needs to be enough of the purification of the karmic cycles for our soul. What I'm hearing is to rest, that our soul gets to rest fully in the frequency of peace, which, so I'm almost seeing that it's like, and hearing that, I don't really know how to express this, but it's almost like we need to clear enough of the karma to release the density. And then whatever is still imprinted in the soul karma, it's almost like it's that the heavy karma has to be cleared and released. And then I'm just almost seeing like a pause button as we go through this next cycle, or the cyclical journey of, like, it really does get to be a time of rest and the frequency of peace and regeneration and growth and creative expression between us and the earth. And and source and God, which, you know, that's a question. Maybe I'll just pause that because that's going to be the complete question, or the final question. But really tuning into this part of karma, what she's sharing is that so many of us, so many of you, and I'm saying us because I know I definitely don't have it all figured out. I've been moving through a lot of deep karmic releases and transmutation processes, you know, on my own individually and with others in relationship as well. And so she's saying that that's why it can feel like it's been so hard, it's been so dense, because we're being asked to face our shadows. We're being asked to clear the karmic ties. And so you may have even noticed that maybe a lot of the relationships that have come into your life thus far up to this point, there have been karmic lessons and things that have come up from past lifetimes, past experiences, maybe even lifetimes in other realms that are coming back for those souls to clear, to transmute, to purify, so that we can all come back together and meet each other in this new earth frequency, that we're all going through this purification portal, so that just as Diana was saying earlier, right, the silica, the water, the DNA, it can all come into this transmutation process together. And she's saying that, like, our analytical mind, right, with all of that wants to figure it out, but there is an encoding within us that already knows the way. And so we don't really need to figure anything out with the mind. It's just allowing ourselves to have an open heart, and that anything that's coming forward, having that curiosity of, okay, I'm not going to avoid or push away or resist this. And of course, everything is in divine timing, but really tuning into, are there things here that are being asked to come up to be cleared, maybe in the family lineage, ancestral, right? Maybe it's like money stuff or things with relationships or activating your spiritual gifts. Like, are there things that have happened that karmically you're carrying that's being asked right now to come through a purification time and clear, so that you can be available for the transmutation process that's happening? And she wanted to say one more thing with that is, don't have fear that you're going to miss it, but we are all being called forward. Like, no one's going to miss it. And we're all being called forward to really step into the ring, to stop sitting on the sidelines and really step into who we truly came here to be. And sometimes it's looking at things like the karmic stuff that may be a little uncomfortable, but it's all here serving us for this greater expansion of consciousness that's taking place.
Yes, it's very good, you see. And so in that, what that it looks like, you see, then within this pause, you see, is it literally a pause, you see? So within that, you see, it does not necessarily mean that we are all complete in that way, because you got to understand what we mean by the karma is there is a reaction to the action, you see. So put your finger in the water, it makes a little ripple, you see. You see, so it is really that it is, we are not stopping because you're choosing to still be fractals. You see, or you're still choosing to be fractalized in consciousness. You see, but this is really a cycle of time within the fractal's soul journey, where you get to breathe a little bit. You see, so it's almost like when you're playing a game. You see, playing in the sports game, for example. You see, and then you take the time out. You see, you take the time out, you reset, you get your water, take a little breather. You see, you get your focus. You see, you have a little breathing room, little break. You see, from the game. You see, then you go back in, you do it again. You see, and so it is a little bit like that, where these are cycles in time that are really built into the blueprint. You see, for the ability of the soul's journey to really go, you see, because it is a real what you call like a spiritual journey, you see, where it's a real sojourn, you see, of really going through it, you see, and really it's a long path, you see. So it is infinite in terms of how you are moving through, you see. So it is not to say, and so then the question comes up, well, then if we are not complete, you see, then we still have all of our crap, you see, well, then we're just, how are we going to just be sitting there on this new earth, you see, all fine and dandy, taking our break, but we haven't worked out all of our shit, you see. Well, how is that going to work, you see? But that is what it means by pause, you see, is that you're taking really a step into a different frequency, you see. So that anything that the soul is choosing to move through, you see, this is the choice in this particular breath, you see. This 1,000-year breath, you see, is a moment, you see, where you are connecting into the essence of your pure soul, you see. This is a moment where you're connecting into the purity of love, you see, the purity of your form, you see, the purity of all souls, you see. To remember the essence, you see. And these are important moments, you see. These are fun moments, you see, but they're also important resets, you see. Then we say we were going to, everyone makes their choice, you see, of when to transition into a new experience, you see. They get a little bit antsy, they can go, you see, go do a new experience, you see, go get your 3D meat suit back, you see, go get your little divisive whatever's you need to do to have your experience. So there's always the options, you see, but it is really a intentional breath, you see, an intentional breath. So we are not carrying in all of these traumas and stories to play out, you see. It is really not happening, you see. So that is why that is asking to be done now, you see. Do it now, clear it now, so that you can really just be in your essence, you see. This is really what is happening.
Yes, I love the way that you just shared that with the breath, because just as you were saying the breath, what she was showing me was like how I had originally said pause, right? It's like, because nothing's ever really paused, but you said breath. It's like, it's this beautiful, like 1,000-year breath of expansion of consciousness. And it's the expansion, right? And then we can go back into the contraction of the exhale. But it's like in the in breath of like the remembrance, the awakening, the oxygen, the connection to source, right? It's like, it's the opening, it's the blooming, it's the remembering. And that was just a really beautiful visual. And when she was showing me that, she was saying the correlation of the pause is, if we think about being in presence, new earth frequencies bringing us into such deep resonance with presence that it's going to allow us to be in that breath, in the present moment, in this now moment, which everything that's happening now, right, is allowing us to be in our co-creation with God, source. And this is going to bring us into a couple of the next questions. I don't want to jump too far ahead, but it's the presence, it's the breath, it's the expansion of the breath into the presence, into almost like the veil being lifted for us. And that's the cycle that we're stepping into. And so whatever we're being asked to meet right now, know that nothing, if you're walking through something really heavy, or you have experienced in the past, like maybe you've experienced relationships that have been really painful, and you're just feeling your heart's like closed off, and it's like, oh, how can I lean into trust? Like the invitation is opening your heart, allowing your heart to open and start blooming to receive. And the present moment is really such a beautiful gateway or door to start experiencing that frequency now, is what she was sharing. And so this is there anything that you want to add to that, Diana?
No, my dear, just talking to ourselves, saying how good and proud we are, you see, over here with you, and you just nailing it out of the park, you see, that's all. See, we did not need to say it out loud, but we said the loud part, and here we are, you see.
Beautiful. Amazing. So on to the next question, which is, will we still have free will on New Earth? And the answer to that is yes. And what she's showing me is that we're going to be so much more aware of our free will than we ever have before. Just as Diana was saying, right? We can choose at any time, like, okay, we're in this cycle of presence and the in-breath and the expansion. And at any time, if you're choosing, okay, I'm ready to go back into this experience or that experience, we have the choice to do that. And what she's showing me is, because we're going to be back in our original blueprint and the expansion of our consciousness, we're so aware that we have free will. Whereas right now, maybe it's still something that we're falling unconscious to, we're forgetting. Sometimes, right, we fall victim to our circumstances, like I had no choice or it was out of my control. And of course, right, there are things that happen on our planet that feels like are out of our control or is out of our control, but we always have the ability to choose how we're responding to it, how we're allowing it to make us feel, or if we're giving our power away, or if we're staying empowered beings and in our sovereignty. And so the awareness that we are empowered, sovereign beings is going to be so much more expanded, right? The victim consciousness is going to start to dissolve, and we're really going to be in our creatorship, in full responsibility of our experience, the reality that we're creating, the reality that we're co-creating. And there's going to be such a heightened awareness to that. And so that's a really beautiful thing, because that's going to allow us to be the original blueprint is we are these creator beings, but so many of us have forgotten. And I know even for myself, even though I have the awareness of that sometimes, right, because we're still living the human experience, I fall unconscious, I forget for a moment. And, I think it's like Joe Dispenza that talks about, we'll continue to fall back into the unconscious until we make the unconscious conscious, right? It's like, it's all about bringing, when we fall back into this unconscious state, which is part of the programming now, to pull it back into the conscious state. And the original programming of the blueprint of the human is what she's showing me is very much in the conscious state, very much in presence, very much in our remembrance, very much in the inner knowing that I am sovereign. I get to choose in every now moment. And that's kind of the radical presence that she said we're being called into as well. And so, Diana, do you have anything that you want to share or add to that?
Well, this is all very well said, you see, and this is really what we're going to share as well. We'll say it slightly different way, you see. So when you are in the new earth frequency, you see, you are connected into everything's turned on, you see, all the superpowers are all connected, you see. So there is the sense of you are really aware of your power. You are really aware of how you impact everything, you see. So there's not this time lapse like you experience sometimes down here. You see, where you have this illusion of powerlessness. You see, you really are because you see something or like, oh, how can I control that or whatever. Do not have the awareness of how much you are really impacting that situation. You see, you are putting yourself in this powerlessness experience. You see. But in the new earth, you are really fully connected into all your potentiality, and you're powerful, you see. So you are seeing it in real time, the action, reaction, and how it all plays, you see. And so it is impossible to not be really hyper conscious, you see, of how free will you really have, you see. And so you are in a fractal of body. So of course, whenever you are fractal, you have, that is the definition, that is the design, is free will, is in the inherence of the design itself, you see. So no matter where you go, what universe you go, there's always free will, you see. This is a law of the universe, you see. Even on the planets where there is where they're doing their best to trap and contain and control, you see, manipulate, mind games and all these things, you see, enslavement and whatnot. Even in these places where it seems like they have really figured it out, you see, how to trap the souls, you see, even that is a illusion, you see. There's always free will, you see. All they can do is create illusions of entrapment, you see. So as soon as you realize that you are the player in this story, you see, then all of a sudden you say, oh, goodness, we are done with that. We're going to shut that timeline down altogether, you see, and just be done with it, you see, complete, you see. game finished, you see that kind of thing. And that is how simple it really is, you see. So you recognize your power, and you are very aware too of of your multidimensionality. And so you are also aware of all these places as well. So you are very easily able to really have your chosen experience, you see. So anyone that is choosing to go into this new earth dimensionality, you see, is really choosing this breath of peace, you see, this breath of connection, this breath of creation, this breath of creativity, you see, a connection of really being in this play, you see, being in this frequency play. You're choosing that, you see. So that is the free will choice, you see. So within that, then every moment you get to choose. It's like a child, you see. Go to your best friend that day. What do you want to play today, you see? That is free will, you see. So yes, there's free will, because you are a fractal, having choosing experience, breath by breath, moment by moment, micro moment, cosmic moment. You choose, you see, every place, everywhere. You're always choosing. We're always choosing.
Beautiful. So well said. We're gonna get into the final two questions. And I'm going to kind of group these together because they're both around relationships. And the first question is around how our relationship is going to change with each other, how our relationships change, or will they change in the new earth frequency? And so as I was reading this out and just connecting with Gaia on this question, she brought me back into just something that you said earlier, Diana, even about the plants and the animals, and how our relationships will even change with them, as we don't so much need to take a bite out of them, but we can actually be in a circuitry energetically with them. And that gets to be through permission and consent. And that is part of the free will, is we all have permission and consent, or we get to give permission and consent when we are choosing to, and maybe we're not choosing to in those moments. And so what I'm hearing, or what I'm seeing, is there's a whole level of honoring that's going to take place in each other, in the relationship itself. And so she brought me into, one of the main teachings of Yeshua and Mary Magdalene, which is wholeness, right? It's the balance of the masculine and feminine counterparts that we have internally. And this is part of the work that we're doing, that as we're bringing balance within us, we're activating a level of wholeness within ourself. And that wholeness is then activating the original divine blueprint. And it's connecting us back in with our original source, which is source, God, universe. And so, and she was showing me that how we're like taking a bite out of something, and the metaphor for that was just how you were just sharing also, Diana, of like in some of the constructs, right? There's like manipulation or control. So we can look at that on a greater level of, say, the powers that be here on this planet. And we can look at that in a more of a micro level in relationships, right? Human nature, not human nature, but how we've been imprinted. It's not actually our nature at all. Human nature is wholeness, it's love. But the programming that we're in right now is we have forgotten that we have this infinite connection to source. And so in some situations, and I know that in my past, I can reflect back when I definitely have seen myself operating in this way. And of course, the more awareness and healing that I've done, my consciousness has been able to evolve, where I feel like I don't operate in that way anymore. At least if I catch myself, I can bring awareness to it and then shift and make new choices in real time, which is the manipulation of each other, right? We fall into victim states or trying to overpower someone. And so how a lot of the relationships operate here on this planet is, instead of right? Connecting straight to the source and getting our energy straight from the source or straight from light. We're pulling it from one another, right? We're manipulating one another. And most of that manipulation is very, very unconscious. We don't even realize that we're doing it, right? And it can be in many different ways. Like so many people, like the word like narcissist is coming up, right? But this tendency can be so subtle where we don't even notice it. Sometimes it's a very big, like, wow, there's a lot of control happening here. And manipulation happening here. And then sometimes it's very subtle. But in new earth frequency, because everyone is coming into the wholeness of their blueprint, what's happening is it's as within, so without. And so when there is this remembrance of this connection to our human nature, our divine connection to source, God, universe, and an experience of wholeness within us, we're now in this place of deep honor of the sacredness within self. The connection of the unified field is so bright. We have so much awareness around it. We understand that if I'm hurting someone else, it's actually directly hurting or affecting me. And this is the part of the karma, right, that we were sharing of, like, it's almost like there's a pause that's happening. We're working through what we need to work through. And the pause is almost happening as well, because in this new earth frequency, we don't need to be generating negative karma because we're in wholeness. We're in the remembrance of creation. We're in honoring of the sacredness of self. So when we're honoring self, when we're seeing the sacredness of who we are in our original divine blueprint, when we go to connect with another, that connection is through the frequency of love. It's through the frequency of honor. It's through the frequency of I see you and how sacred you are, and I honor this connection. And there gets to be, through permission and consent, then an energetic connection or exchange of the circuitry, right? We can be an energetic circuitry with each other. And so that is how relationships are going to shift and change. The wounding and the shadow that we're moving through right now gets to be alchemized, and we get to commune and connect with each other, just as we're going to be communing and connecting with the earth as well, right? I was just in Guatemala, and I was at this beautiful lake, and the lake is just filled with garbage. And I was just beside myself of not understanding how especially those who live and walk on that land consistently can just like see this garbage piling up. And it was just this understanding of how deeply still disconnected we are all over the planet, of how we're even treating our great mother. And so the relationship is going to shift, because it's going to be one of deep, deep honor to self and to one another in this circuitry. And so it's going to shift in such a beautiful, beautiful way. And I'm curious, Diana, if there's anything you want to add to that.
Yes, my dear, very well said. You see, so what we'll add here is the way to say is that the ways that we relate, with the way we come together, we were magnetized to our partners, to our sacred relationships, is often, not always, you see, but a lot of times in this particular dimension, you see, we come together for healing. You see, this is most relationships come together for the shadow work, what you call the shadow work, for the traumas. You see, trauma bonding, we hear this kind of thing, but to come together because we see the potentiality to work through and heal this particular aspect of our woundings, you see. So this is a really big gift that we get to have in this particular experience, you see. And so in this way, this is very, very important, you see. And so to not undermine the importance of these types of relationships, you see, because that is a sacred relationship, you see, when we can hold it in that way, that it is really coming together for the intent of healing. And a lot of times this is not conscious. This is mostly subconscious, you see. Lots of times we just come together for the physicality of it. You see, we say, oh, this nice looking person. Oh, I like that character. I like this. You see, oh, that we get the good feels, you see. get a little butterflies, whatever, you see. But see, after all that is done, you see, not go away, but you see, after we've had that experience in the beginning, the initial honeymoon phase, so to speak, you start to get into the real reasons why you are magnetized together. And this is really for the deeper healing, you see, for the ways that you work together so perfectly. Your trauma, their trauma come together. Oh, it's such a good match, you see. The ways that you are playing together, wow, couldn't have put it better if we tried, you see. And this is the genius of the souls, you see, coming together. Oh, perfect match, you see, to really poke those buttons in each other and really give the best opportunity for healing, you see. Sometimes goes that way. A lot of times does not go that way. Oh, look at what he did. Look at what she did. You see, go away. Oh, you know what? One spiritual teacher said to Ava once, you see, oh, you don't want to do, we're going to break up, you see. Oh, you're not going to do that with him? You see, okay, no, come along, you see. Meaning, if you don't want to work out your stuff, you see, your traumas with that particular person, no problem. It's going to come up in the next person, your next relationship, same deal. You're going to keep bringing the people for that particular piece, because that is what's being asked to be healed, you see. So this is how we move through relationships a lot of times in this particular dimension. When we move into the higher levels of relating, you see, and this is what is more the new earth frequency, is the reason that what is magnetizing together is more in the soulmate level, you see. So you're coming together with these soulmates, you see, in the fullness of who you are. You see, and the soulmate frequency is really all about elevating the spiritual consciousness, you see, and coming together in the oneness, you see. So you get to have more of this level of relationship, you see. So even if we are not done with all the traumas, all the karmas, all the things, you see, with this cycle, we get to experience the soulmate energy in the pure essence. And this is like, oh, good, we're going to the soulmate now, soulmate place of the new earth. Now we can go do that. But see, this is the key. A lot of people who are on this particular plane looking for their soulmate, you see, are actually in the process of trying to heal specific woundings, you see. And they're looking for it in the soulmate, you see. And so there's a desire to feel this hole, you see, within. And so that is a little bit of a sideways way of going into the soulmate experience, you see. That is not going to be the way that the connection is coming together in the new earth, you see. It is coming out of wholeness, you see. There is nothing that the other is needing to fill in you, you see, and vice versa, you see. So there is no reasons to come together for healing in that particular way, you see. It is coming together for love and for creation, you see, and for experience, you see, to experience the essence and to be in the honor of each other's essence, to be in the honor of the beauty and the power and the reverence and the magnificence of what it is to be in union with another human, you see. So that is a whole nother layer of relating, you see. That is a totally different way from how we are coupling now in this earth. So it is very different, extremely different, you see. And almost to the point of, because most of how the coupling happens here is so subconscious, you see. It's going to be hyper conscious in that realm, you see. You're going to be choosing, coming together, there will be a recognition of your soulmate, you see. You get to come together, and you are in that recognition of soulmate energy, you see. And so, and oftentimes, you see, because this is happening like that, you see, this transition, you see, this can also be that the one you are with embodies the soulmate soul frequency, you see. So this does not mean that everyone's going to go getting divorced, you see, necessarily to the one they're with or to their family or whatever, you see. This is not what we're saying, you see. What we are saying is that there's a frequency, a soulmate frequency that is activated in New Earth, you see, so that the couplings that are coming together, there is a real coherent resonance, you see, between the union, within the union, you see. And it does come from the essence of the one, you see, and then you get to experience in another. So it's very, very beautiful, very, very powerful, very, very, very different from what you are doing now in this earth, you see.
Beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. That feels like such a important key piece. And that, you know, just what you were sharing, right, of even the healing and the wounding that we've been moving through in relationships. I feel like that's also part of this karmic purification that we're really moving through as well, that that we've spoke about, so that we can come into resonance with wholeness within self, so that when we're in the new earth frequency, we can be in this place of connecting with our soulmate in this frequency of wholeness, where it's not that they are filling anything, because you are already whole. And, through my own personal experience with heartbreak and moving through, I've recently gone through a divorce and was in a very karmic relationship for that 8 years, and then that dissolved. And what I experienced through that was just very on point with what you're sharing, of like, we do come together to illuminate our shadows so we can look at them and heal those, and transcend those, that frequency and that limitation that keeps us separate even from the unified field within us, that wholeness within us. And that's really what has come here to free us from the shackles that we've been experiencing through the illusion of having the shackles of the three-dimensional kind of meat suit that we've been in. And that's all part of the process, like that this is all so divinely orchestrated, that it's all part of the process in this cyclical journey that's leading us to this next stage of the evolution of human consciousness in our human form, in the true human form. Beautiful. So I'm going to go into the final question, which is, again, connected in a relationship. And it's, how will our connection to Source, God, change in the new earth? And I feel like we've already been working into this, or expanding into this, or really speaking in this frequency, and very much even just in the previous question, because the previous question was about relationships. Well, our relationship to Source, God, universe, whatever the wording that you resonate with, it's always all the same to me. But that frequency itself, right, as we're coming into, what she's showing me is, as we're coming into this frequency of wholeness, we're remembering the unified field within us, that there's not so much separation between that connection that we have with God, Source, either. And so even that relationship gets to be more of this, I was going to say like synergy, but there's more of a, like how we're communing with each other in this new earth frequency. It's in a very similar way, in the sense of, we're whole, we feel deeply our connection that we have to God and Source. And so there's an honoring, there's a sacredness, there is this communion, this energetic communion of understanding that there's this not even so much co-creation, that it's creation itself moving through in our creative expression, our creative power, through understanding that God, Source, universe is embodied within our DNA. And this is something that I've talked about before as well, of Greg Braden talks about how he discovered that our DNA, the first sequence in every strand of DNA, quite literally reads out. And he did this by decoding the periodic table and a very ancient book, one of the most ancient texts out there, known as the Sefer Yetzirah. And he decoded that this sequence within the first strand of our DNA, and then the rest of our DNA is unique, like our fingerprint. It says God eternal within the body. And so if we think of this is in the DNA, if we think of the ascension process, this new earth that we're expanding into, and how we get there is by light coming in, which is creation itself, and it's plugging in more of that DNA, the DNA that holds the code that God is eternal within the body. Then what is that lighting up? It's the remembrance within the body. And so more of that connection, that remembrance, that we are not separate from God, Source, universe, and that creation is moving through us. And then we get to be in that free will. realizing that we are powerful creators ourselves. And I'm just literally witnessing, like, she's showing me this beautiful vision of, especially like individually, and then as we come together even with other souls, to, you know, whether it's in this soulmate connection or just in a communion with another soul, and more of like a, I guess, like in a friendship or a connection that way, the communion of two whole human forms coming together in the original blueprint, creating together, seeing God through each other's eyes, where we get glimpses of that now, but that level of creation coming together, I'm just seeing that like the 1,000 years of peace that's coming is also, it's not like what she's showing me is, it's not so much like we're all just sitting in meditation in perfect peace. It's like creation is going to be expanding in such a beautiful way because we're remembering our ability to create.
Oh, this is so juicy. We love it. You see, this is such a good one because what is really happening here is also it is the expansion of these stories. You see, so it is an expansion of the perspective in these stories. You see, so if you're expanding the perspective of your inner story, you see, you are now like, whoa, there's a whole bunch more crap in there that I had no idea about. You see. Now that makes the perspective of your understanding of what you call God or source or universe, you see, whether you have an idea about that being external or internal or however you relate to it, does not mean that all of a sudden, if you are going to church, that you no longer go to church, for example. It could, but it doesn't have to mean that, you see. And so whatever where you come from, whatever your culture, whatever your history, whatever your lineage, you see, whatever your ways, you see, these are the ancient remembrance of how to connect, you see, starts to come back into circuitry, you see, and we are adding to the story, you see, so it is adding to the perspective, you see, so there is a sweetness that gets activated in the heart when we get to have it be not that the other way was so wrong or anything like that, but it gets to be more, you see. So now we get to include more of the story, more of the perspective. So now we are seeing things through a wider lens, you see. So now we are like, wow, this is really, really powerful. So this is how it works a little bit on the individual level. And then when you look at the what you say, when two or more gather in my name, you see, there I will be, you see, praying, whatever, you see, creating, whatever, you see. So this is also the understanding of the power of the statement, you see, is really what is being activated, because it is really in the circuitry of the one and the many and the many and the one. You see, this is the name of the divine. You see, the name is really that statement. I am the one and I am the many, and it is all of that. You see, as above, so below. You see, however you want to decode it. You see, it is really stating the infinite multidimensionality of the both the source of the infinite fractalization and the consciousness of the one union, you see. So when you have two fractals or more coming together to experience the union, you see, there is such a dance that is activated in that, you see, of the ability to remember the play of it all, the fullness of the play of it all, you see. And so whatever the lens of perspective, whatever your way of connecting into your version of source, God, creator, universe, within, without, whatever, it's going to be more inclusive, you see. It's going to be more inclusive, and it's going to be more in the experiential realm, you see. So right now we all have ideas of God, you see. We say, my idea of God is right and your idea of God is wrong, you see. Not so much in the heart connection experiential level, you see. Some, yes, you see, but not everyone, you see. And so in this new earth, you see that there is the experiential experience awareness of this power, you see, which is God eternal within the source, within the one, you see. It is all connected, you see. So you are in the experience of the connection, you see. You are in the experience of the feeling of that connection, you see. So you are feeling God. We'll just use this word to make it easy. You are feeling God in the form. You are feeling this aliveness of what God is, which is really the union, is the wholeness, you see. This is really the definition, you see. If you had to put it into a box, you see, it would be the union, because it includes the oneness, it includes the allness, you see, in all directionality, you see. So it is really the experiential awareness of having this activated within the individual fractals, and then the ability to be mirror reflecting these experiential awarenesses, you see. So the feeling state being able to be mirrored through the eyes and the hearts of another is the beauty and the bliss of having that embodied experience of God source, you see, within, you see. So it's changing more from this idea of what it means to have a God, you see, and having it feel a lot externalized, to it having it be a more feeling-based experience that's coming from the heart, you see, and being able to be shared in community, in relationship, you see. So this is a little bit of the difference, you see. It's a big difference.
Wow, that's so incredibly powerful. And I could feel into what you were just sharing of it not being this external thing any longer, it really being this understanding and this deeper communion and connection within self and within all things, which I believe we are starting to awaken to. More of us are starting to see that, wow, God is in nature. It's in, my neighbor down the street and in all life around me. And we can see living, breathing creation and life all around us if we choose to see it in that way. And everything is from the micro to the macro. It's so within, so without. And so as we're really starting to understand this internal connection and unified field and power and the gifts and all of the things that exist within us, it's really tapping us into our wholeness. And I can just feel that no matter what the next 5, 6, 10 years hold for humanity, I can feel the power of what is brewing, or what shape, like I can just feel this like shaking happening to the planet right now. And I was going to say hope, but it's not even hope. It's just an inner knowing of faith, of really what is unfolding for us. And I can feel how beautiful it is. And so just the invitation is really to come into the curiosity of the heart and be in the awe and wonder and the beauty of how we're co-creating together right now. And maybe the invitation into how you're creating individually in your life right now, and how you can take some of these things that we shared and really embody it in a new way, and show up in a new way, in a way of what's really going to guide you into this expansion of your own heart and self. And I'm just so excited to be co-creating here with all of you.
Yes, we would like to add one more piece here, because you said it's a very important part about the external and the internal experience, you see. And we want to say that this does not necessarily mean that all the temples and the churches are going to be empty, you see. And so this is important part, because what is actually shifting is the inner experience, you see. So it does mean that we are going to still find it fun. We'll put it like this. We'll find it fun to come together and party, you see, have divine party, you see, to really the experience. There's not going to be an external worshiping necessarily. There's going to be an internal reverence, you see. There's going to be an internal experience of awe that is activated and expanded in community and connection, you see. So what we will see is new buildings coming into fruition through this creative expression for these places of gathering. It used to be beautiful, what you would call temples or whatever you want to call them, but the beautiful structures, you see, that get created with the intention of amplifying this inner experience of divine union, you see. Because when we are able to come together and experience this together, it amplifies that frequency, and we are even more creative and more powerful in our creative endeavors, you see. So we will see some beautiful creations coming out of this new awareness and new ability to connect to our inner union within in a deeper way, you see, whatever words you want to put on that, you see. That experience of your version of God, you see, gets expanded and felt more deeply, you see. And so whatever ways you are connecting now does not mean you're going to change the ways you're connecting, but you're going to feel it deeper. You're going to feel it deeper, and you're going to desire to be in that frequency and flow more often, you see. So it's not going to be like, oh, it's Sunday, we got to go to church, or oh, it's Shabbat, we've got to go to temple, you see. It's not going to feel like that, you see. It's going to feel much more, there's just a natural depth desire to be in that circuitry, because you already are in the circuitry, you see. So the desire is to share that experience that you're already feeling, you see. So there'll be a desire to create from this desire to share, you see. So you'll be wanting to create beautiful, well-designed, sacred, geometrically aligned places to amplify the experience of these moments of inner union, you see.
Beautiful. So well said. And yeah, I can feel every cell in my entire being just lighting up as you're sharing that. And I'm excited to see what continues to unfold. I know that I'm just consistently in the awe and the wonder of the human experience, and while also learning to have non-attachment and just being open and surrendering to this divine orchestration that's taking place, while also remembering that, we all have a part in this. We all have our own soul song, and part of the piece of the divine symphony, or a note in the divine symphony, as Diana always shares. And so I just want to say thank you so much for being here with us today, Diana, and thank you to the Living Ma, and thank you so much to Gaia for being here and willing to be in circuitry with us today and share her truth. And thank you to everyone who's here listening with all of us. Diana, is there anything else you want to share before we go ahead and close up and bring Ava back into the space?
Yes, we'll just share a little bit of a blessing, the gratitude for our dear Gaia, my dear Gaia, you see. And we are going to say, on her behalf, you see, we are activating, you see, the inner door to your inner temple, you see. So with this 4-part series, your inner door, you see, of your inner temple is activated, you see. So this is an opportunity now for you to go in and open the door, you see. And so may you be blessed to hold the key, to turn the lock, to open the door, and see what is there for you in your inner temple. Pleiadian family, we love you all so dearly. Blessings from the Pleiadians.
Beautiful. Thank you, Diana and the Living Ma, and to Gaia. Welcome back, Ava. Welcome back into the space. It was such a powerful episode. Thank you, everyone, for being here with us today. I just have so much gratitude for all of you. If you're just coming into checking out this episode, make sure you check out the other 3 parts as well, as they are so powerful, and it really brings all of this information together. And so with that, Ava, is there anything else that you want to share before we go ahead and close up?
Yeah, thank you so much, Shylo. I just trust this message was exactly what you needed to hear today. And this is the close of not only our 4-part series here with Gaia, but this is the close of season 1 of the Play to Rise podcast. So we just are honoring all of you for being here for our first season of this. And we are just so grateful to be on this journey with you all together. And we look forward to coming back for season 2 in not too long.
Yes, beautiful. So if you liked this episode, if it resonated, please like, subscribe so we can, bring season 2 to all of you as well and continue to channel and bring more magic. If you haven't listened to the other episodes, there's so many powerful channelings in this season. So go check them out. Let us know what you think. Would love to connect with you. And we also have an online membership. If you're like, I want to dive deeper into this, we'll put the information of that down in the show notes as well.
Great. Well, blessings to everyone here. And our website is playtorise.com. If you want to go check it out, you can get connected with the membership there as well. And we will see you guys all back here for season 2.
Bye, everyone.